Buying any Foxbody Mustang is not as easy as just going down to the local car dealership and picking out whatever vehicle you want. There's a lot to consider, and one of the biggest issues with buying a Foxbody is, do you want a project car or do you want something that's completely finished and you just buy it as it's completely built or completely restored? But also with Foxbodies, the big issue is rust. They are an older car and they do develop rust in certain areas, and it's a big consideration when looking at any of these cars. Some people have the ability to fix rust and can do it on their own, but if you can't fix rust on your own, it's pretty expensive to get those kind of repairs done. So you're better off trying to find a Foxbody that is not rusted out or showing signs of that and being a potential problem. So I want to start with some of the cars that I was originally looking at and reasons why I passed on some of these and how things stand as of now as far as getting a Project Foxbody. Now, the first big consideration I really had to come to terms with was how much of a project car did I really want? Did I want to start with a roller, a bare shell, something that kind of drove and ran but not that good? It was a really hard decision. I went back and forth a lot with just how much of a project I really wanted to dive into. So this leads me to the first car that I came to look at. Now, I use the term first car looked at pretty loosely. This car was actually located in New York, but I put a lot of thought and consideration into buying either this one or something like this. It was a roller, of course, which at the time I was pretty much okay with. It had a nice upgrade on it already as far as the K-member, and it had a nice big intercooler on the front of it. The only thing that it was missing, of course, was the engine, the transmission, and some of the interior was missing as well. But the bigger issue came up of not only how much of a project car do I want, but the logistics of getting a car like this that's a roller, and how am I going to get it back home. That was a real big consideration, and it really started to narrow down my options and really narrow down the distance that I was willing to really go for what car I really wanted to look at and possibly get. Now, this next car is one I actually went to look at. It was local to me, at least where I was at the time. I was visiting family and decided to take the trip over to take a look at this car. It had 56,000 original miles. It was a lot of what I was looking for. Didn't have perfect paint. Didn't really care about the engine other than it running and driving. Wasn't a project car. All of it was there and put together. Had pretty high hopes on this car, and being that it only had 56,000 original miles on it was very tempting, and I was told that it didn't have any rust on it. So I went over to look at this car to check it out just to be sure that it was everything that the seller was saying that it was. And I got over there and looked the car over really well. I really thought it was something that was probably too good to be true. He was asking a really good price for it, and I was just waiting for that one thing to jump out that really turned me off from this car. And that was when I popped the engine bay and looked at the frame rail by the strut tower and saw that there was rust developing down by the frame rail. And there was also rust developing on the lip of the rear quarter panel on the passenger side rear. And that kind of really blew this whole thing up for me, because I just really did not want to get into a rust issue with the car and having to fix all that stuff regardless of the price being really good on this car, coming with a lot of extra stuff. It was just, I didn't know what else was behind that rust, what other cancer was spreading through this car that I couldn't see. So in the end, I decided to pass on this car as well. Now, from the onset, all this does seem a little bit depressing. It's hard trying to find a Foxbody locally. There are a lot of Foxbodies that were made for the years that I was looking for, from 87 to 93, but finding one close to you that's in really good shape is not easy to find. I was faced with either having to find one that was out of state and somehow going to go look at it, or buying it sight unseen and having it shipped, which didn't really settle with me very well. I spent a lot of time scouring Facebook Marketplace, searching different areas of the country, pretty much opening up all my options for trying to find something that I was okay with getting. And I looked at a lot of cars online, just mostly getting familiar with seeing the same things that were wrong with the cars. Some had the same rust issues, ones that were fully put together, ones that were rollers, and just really trying to find something that fit what I was looking for. It's really hard. And I spent probably a good solid week and a half to 2 weeks just looking and looking and looking, and just trying to wrap my head around what it exactly was that I was looking for and what exactly did I really want. Now, after all this searching, what's the end result to all of this? As I said, I spent a lot of time just really, really looking, weighing my options, trying to decide what I really wanted, how deep of a build do I really want to get into, and just stacking all that against, what I had to put towards a project like this, and what was I okay spending for a car, and the amount of money to put into it to get it ultimately to where I would want it. So at this point, it kind of seems like it's a dead end, as though I'm still looking and trying to, find something that I really want. But some stories do have a very happy ending, and I'm very anxious to show all of you what's coming up next.